I'm Susan. Welcome to Tea and Games. The tea today is China Breakfast from Tea Runners. Not a paid promo, I just like their teas. It's been a while. And for any new people here, my husband Robert and I are casual weekend board gamers. I'm just hanging out here talking about board games with y'all. He chooses not to be part of the board game thingy. I am not a professional content creator, and just as importantly, I do not aspire to be a professional content creator. Let's just keep this loose and casual. Talk about some games. You can talk about some games in the comments and everything's cool. So we played a ton of good games. I mean, I didn't record last week because of reasons, but yeah, we've played some amazing games. First of all, I should give a little addendum to the previous video. I got a lot of good comments about small card games to take for a large mixed group of people. And over the holiday weekend, Half Price Books was having a 20% off sale of everything. So I picked up Monikers, which is the newer version of Time's Up. Although this is actually, I think, first edition Monikers, which is a party game. So I've got that in my collection now. I also found, like, for just $2 or $3, an Uno deck. And I had mentioned, I just realized I don't have an Uno deck. It's kind of, I feel like that should be part of my game collection for as far as just like card games anybody can play, and that a lot of people already know how to play. Remember, that was one of the things that I kind of tended to lean toward that. I mentioned before that I had played Uno the first time I played it with a regular deck of playing cards. Not quite right. I looked that up. It was not a single deck of playing cards. You can play Uno with 2 decks of regular playing cards with both the jokers in. And you can Google this and see how to do it. Essentially, you assign special actions to, I think, the face cards or the jokers or something like that. But yeah, it's totally doable without an Uno deck. But still, I got a little junk Uno deck because it was just like $2 or $3. So, I also, another impulse thing at that half price sale, I got Nana Jaws. I've kind of been tempted about this, and the reason why I haven't gotten it before now is because one versus many is just not a mechanic that Robert and I say, oh wow, that sounds great. But I don't think we actually have any one versus many games, although we have now, just since the last time I talked to you, gotten 2, which I'll get to that in a minute. We got Jaws, and we did have a chance to play it over this past weekend. We got together with the family. We didn't have a lot of time, but there is a shorter version of this. This game, actually, it's in 2 acts. First, the shark is attacking beachgoers around the island, and you're trying to get the shark. And that is the setup for the second act, in which you're on the boat and it's trying to destroy the boat and kill y'all, and y'all are trying to get enough hit points to kill the shark. So you can actually play the second act separate from the first act, just basically on the boat, shark versus people. And so we did that with the family, and it was a lot of fun. I look forward to being able to try the full version of the game and see how it goes. My nephew played the shark. We knew he would love playing the shark. Otherwise, I think I would have never even thought of getting this because, as I said, we're not really into the one versus many thing. But I knew he would enjoy playing the shark against the rest of the family. So that worked out rather well, and eventually we'll probably play this with either family or friends and play the full version. I do have a how to play video, not mine, I always link videos because I'm not good at this thing I'm doing here. I'm just going to talk about games in an extremely casual manner, so I put good videos on people telling how to play and play through for things that I talk about here. So that'll be in the description on how to play for Jaws if you've always been kind of curious about how the game is played. But also this past weekend, Robin and I played Happy Little Dinosaurs at 2 players, and it was not half bad. I do have the 5 to 6 player extension rolled into this, so that way we can play it with the full family. But we just, like I said, the gameplay time of the family time was just kind of short, and we prioritized Jaws this time. But, let's see if I can get myself organized here. New games. I mentioned that I'd gotten 2 One Versus Many. Button Shy game. This is actually a movie tie-in for the movie Riddle of Fire, and the game is One Speckled Egg, and it is a One Versus Many. Well, because one player plays as the gang, which is trying to get the egg from the kids, and then you have 3 kid cards which have special abilities, and so you can have, it'll play 4 with 1 person playing the game and 3 other people playing kids, or you can play it at 2 players in which 1 person controls all 3 kids. But this is actually pretty good. We were surprised at how well it played at 2. It's doable. We had a few hiccups and bumps along the way as we tried to figure things out. But yeah, this is a Button Shy game. It is available on their website. I'm suspecting that since this is a movie tie-in, that it's probably not going to be one of those that's going to be around for a long time. So y'all can look for that. We also played... When that came in, I had ordered more of the Anthelian expansions. We have not yet played the Cultist, but we have now, whoa, I almost bumped my tea. We have now played the Chaos faction, which was actually kind of chaotic, and the Union, which was also pretty good. So we've got now all of the expansions for Button Shy's Anthelian. So we can, and what you do when you play these expansions is you swap them out for the Rogue faction that comes in the base game. So we now have a lot of variations on Anthelian that we can play, and we are enjoying that. I'm looking forward to playing the Cultist. But bigger games that are new that we got. We picked up Tanis. I say we, I mean me, Tanis, and Donuts. Donuts is both Tanis and Donuts are 2-player games. Tanis is an abstract strategy game. It kind of does my head in a little bit. There's something about it, I'm looking at it, and it's more thinky than it should be, at least for me. Although, I don't know, I guess there are some thinky elements to it. And Tanis' set collection. Donuts is designed by Bruno Cathala. Tanis is Phil Walker Harding, so known designers here. And both of these games came out last year. And that's something that I do not understand, because people are not talking about these games. And I don't know if it's because, I mean, I've heard very little buzz about them. I mean, it's just sheer dumb luck that I stumbled across stuff from them because I look at stuff on YouTube. And I will put below the teach and playthrough for Donuts and Tanis, so that you can give them a look. But I don't understand why people aren't talking about these games, and I'm thinking it's because it's that 2-player niche. Although a lot of content creators play games at 2 players, not everybody has a big game group. But for some reason, it seems to me that you can find solo, if a game can be played solo, you can find a solo playthrough for basically any game that can be played solo. And you can find playthroughs, even 2-player playthroughs of pretty much all the games that are, games that can be played with more than 2 players. But these two-player games are just not on anybody's radar, and I do not understand it. Donuts has an Othello-like mechanism, and I've never played Othello, so I don't know what that means. But it consists of 4 small boards that you put together to make one big square board. See, can I lay that out here? I'm laying it on the Tanis box. Yeah, that's going to work well. And I am coming so close to knocking my tea over. So you just lay the boards out, and you can see that these have squares that have little pink and white divider lines. So you lay it out, you got a 4 square board. And because you may have noticed as I'm holding these things, they're double-sided. So that means every single time you play the game, the board is going to look different. These lines on here, the lines that are dividing line, when you place something on this here, that dividing line is what determines where your opponent can place their piece on their turn. Two-player game. So that means if you place it on there and that's got like a diagonal line going there, that means that your opponent must place their piece somewhere along that line on the board. And if all of the spaces along that line are already filled, then they can place them anywhere, which is a kind of a nifty strategic thing, because you are trying to get 5 donuts in a row of a single color. And the donuts are made out of wooden pieces, so they've got a little bit of heft to them. Chocolate on one side, glazed or vanilla on the other. And I can't seem to hold it up. Yeah. So they look neat, and I crave donuts every time we play this game, and we have been playing this game a lot. I have not had donuts yet. But there is a thing where if you've got pieces on the board, and like there's 2 chocolate pieces on the board and there's a space between them, and if vanilla puts their thing into that space between the 2 chocolates, then that is an insertion point, and they can flip the chocolates to be vanilla or glazed. So you have this way of converting if your opponent is not very, very careful, or if the whole lines on the board just kind of work against you, because you can maneuver things to like make them have to place there, kind of thing. It is an interesting and surprisingly thinky little game. Very abstract. The donut thing does not apply, but the donut thing makes it more adorable. So if you want something that is an abstract strategy game that nevertheless looks totally adorbs, then that would be donuts. And then Tanis, oh boy, I'm so close to knocking this over. I have not knocked my tea over in a video yet. But, you know, I'm still making videos, so it could still happen. Tanis has tiles, domino-shaped tiles. And they're in a box. And the name Tanis comes from, of course, Indiana Jones. Cue the Indiana Jones theme. You are excavating the lost city of Tanis. Dum, da, dum, dum. So here is your box. This is set up for a game. Now, this is going to be kind of interesting because there are no scarab beetles showing on the first layer. And there are, I believe, 4 layers here. And it is set collection. If you have 1, you get no points. But if you have 2 in a row, you get 2 points. 3 numerically in a row, 4 points, 4 in a row, 7, 5, 10, 6 or more, 14. And it gives you an example here on the back of the card. Little 2-player game. It gives you a little tool so that you can make your little selection and get any that are tricky out. But, whoa. But, so I got the 6 falcon here. So that means I'm going to probably be collecting like falcons. 5, 7, 4. Trying to get some of the ones here. There's an 8 that's already showing. Now you'll notice when I took this piece out, there are 2 numbers showing. A lot of times there'll be a number and a letter showing. And you don't know what's on the other side of that. You don't know if that's a falcon or a beetle or an ankh or a cobra. So each player has a few cards that they can play. There are explorer cards which will allow you to slide a tile and take a tile. So if you want to peek underneath here, you can slide a tile and see what that is. There is also an excavator card in which you can remove 1 tile from the game and take it. And there is 1 expert tile. There's 3 explorer, 2 excavator, and there's 1 expert in which you can take a tile and then take a tile that does not have a matching icon. So let's say we've taken a few more pieces out here. You see here, you can see a 1 and a beetle down there, 1 and beetle. But see, you don't know what the icon for the 1 is or what the number is for the scarab beetle. So it's kind of tricky, and you take turns taking things out or playing cards and taking things out. You have a few cards that you can use. Use the Explorer first because there are some rules. When you set this thing up, you cannot have a tile that's laying directly on top of another tile. And likewise, when you slide tiles, you cannot slide them to like they're hanging off of an uneven level, or they drop down to another level, or they're sliding so that they're directly on top of another tile. So there are some limitations to that sliding tile thing. So those cards are really most helpful early in the game. But as you excavate things, and you notice there's an inner sleeve here, that has to do with, you'll take this out to play because that will make it easier. That makes it easier to remove the tiles if you don't have the sleeve in there, because then it's not tight in there. And there is a reason for this sleeve. It has to do with setup. And when you put the game away, you can set up for another game, because this is the lid. You put the sleeve in the lid, and then shuffle all the tiles around upside down like you would with dominoes, and then you would lay the tiles inside here, like upside down, blank side showing, and make sure you cross-hatch them so that they're not laying directly on top of each other. And you just put them in there, and then you put the bottom of the box here into the lid and the sleeve thing, and flip it over, and voila, you have it all set up. So you just lay them there upside down into the lid, and then you can take the sleeve out because that gives you more extra shuffling room in here. It's kind of nifty, and I always just set up another game when I have finished playing the other one. And now I can't get the sleeve back in, so I guess we'll just have to play it. Ooh, pieces came out. But yes, we have been having a huge amount of fun playing this. And like Donuts, I will put a playthrough for Tanis underneath here in the description below. This is a fun little game because most of the time, like I said, you'll have like an icon and a number revealed. Sometimes you could have 2 icons revealed or 2 numbers, but you don't know what's on the other end. So, and you're trying to make those sets, and you're trying to make the biggest set that you possibly can, and you're trying to keep your opponent from making sets, because there's going to be times where like they're building up from the bottom and you're building down from the top, where you both need that 5. So, and that's where the cards come in, depriving your opponent of certain tiles, or making sure that that when you do your move, then that's going to leave you they're going to be stuck in a position where that will leave you in a position they have to remove that tile. So then that will leave you able to get the tile that you need. It is a lot of fun. We have played this and Donuts a lot. I like Tanis more than Donuts. Like I said, the whole strategy thing on Donuts, and like you're following the line or across, and then you've got to try to figure out, it's like if I put that there, then that means they'll be able to go there, and then I can't do that because that would form an insertion point, and then they'd be able to flip all my tiles. Donuts kind of does my head in a little bit. Tanis, I love Tanis. We love Tanis. Both Donuts and Tanis are by well-known designers, and they both came out last year, and nobody is talking about them. They're little two-player games that are a lot of fun and that you can play over and over again. I would say both of these games would probably be okay. We've played them on the coffee table, so they will both fit on coffee tables. And they would probably be okay for an outdoor situation, though with Tanis, you would need to keep hold of your tiles or put something on top of your cards. But there's only a few. 3 Explorer, 2 Excavator, and an Expert for each person. You would need to weight the cards down if it were breezy or if you had a fan going, but the pieces for both of these are such that you could play them on a table outside, and it's that kind of weather. Although you notice I'm wearing a sweatband. It's hot out there here. And the final game I wanted to talk about is Dice Town, and I will put a playthrough of Dice Town down below. The only thing is the playthrough, which is what I watched, and this is not a new game. This is the 2nd edition. The playthrough I watched is for the 1st edition of the game. And as near as I can tell, the only difference between the 1st edition and the 2nd edition is there is a space. Like if you don't get anything in that round, then you go to Doc Bad Luck. And in the 1st edition of the game, you use the poker dice to determine what action you would take at Doc Bad Luck. Whereas in the 2nd edition of the game, Doc Bad Luck just has cards with those actions on it, and you can choose one of 2 that are laid out there, or just take one off the top of the deck. So you have a choice as to what action you take when you go there. And some of the actions are actually pretty good. But here's the thing. Playing this at 2-player, you're not gonna visit Doc Bad Luck because everybody is gonna have something. Everybody's gonna get something every round. The game fell a bit flat for us at 2 players. You can learn how to play it at 2 players, but this game is going to shine with a group. And it will play up to 5 people, 2 to 5. And they say 45 minutes for playtime. It's a lot faster with 2. I wouldn't recommend it with 2 because it's playable. It's a game, but you watch that 4-player playthrough, and you realize just how much more dynamic the game is with more players. So I would definitely recommend this for 3, 4, or 5. If we can find a 3rd person, which we should be able to do in the next month or so, I think. May give this a try with 3 players. If you know how to play poker, the poker hands that you're doing might come a little bit easier for you but if you don't know how to play poker, that's not a problem, because for most of the action spots in which you get stuff like gold or land cards, or basically things that give you points at the end of the game, for most of those, you're going to be going to the spot and say, okay, who has the most 9s? Who has the most 10s? Who has the most jacks? Who has the most queens? Who has the most kings? There's one action spot where it's who at the table has the best poker hand. And the back of the cards there show you the poker hands. So you have like a cheat sheet if you don't know how to play poker. But you might not necessarily be going for the best poker hand. You might be selecting your dice after each roll to put together something that has the most jacks or the most tens. So it does have some strategic elements in there, in that each time you roll, you're choosing to keep one of your dice, or you could pay $1 and keep another dice, or $2 and keep another. So you can pay to keep more dice if you just roll something astonishing. So there is that mechanism in there, and there is some selection and strategy in this. It is a lot of fun. And I will be looking forward to playing this and Jaws with more people. Now let me consult my notes, since I've just been winging it here as usual, and see if I forgot to mention anything. That's it. That's it. But some good games, huh? I do recommend Dice Town, even though the 2-player version is kind of flat. If you can scare up more people, it's going to be fun. It is family weight. Definitely a lighter game, though, like I say, you do have to make some strategic choices as you go. For 2 players, I very much recommend Donuts and Tanis. These are 2 just really excellent 2-player games. It's a lot of fun. And there's a little bit of take that in Tanis, but it's not too bad. And there's a little bit of take that in Donuts, and you're gonna get a little bit of that push me, pull you like kind of thing, like and I'm gonna do that there because I know if I don't, then you're gonna be able to go there. So there is a little bit of that, and you're gonna get that in any 2-player games. But these games are not like pure hate. It's like, Robert mentioned to a friend that we sometimes play games with that I picked up an Uno deck, and he said, "Oh yes, a way to lose friends." But yeah, but you're not going to lose friends all of these games. They are friendly games by and large. I think that's just about it. I mentioned some Button Shy games earlier. Button Shy is running a Kickstarter campaign right now that y'all might want to take a look at, even if you're not particularly into Button Shy, because they're doing something a little bit different here, and it looks real interesting. The Kickstarter is for Mysticana, and it is a foundation deck. And it is basically a base game, which various designers can then design expansion decks for, to create other games using those foundational base cards. And the base game cards themselves can be played. There's one solo game you can play with the base game cards. There's a 2-player game, and I think there's a multiplayer game that can all be done with that foundation deck, the base game that you get in the Kickstarter. And the Kickstarter also comes with, or has it comes with one of those as an expansion, and then it has, the base game deck I think has 2 games, and then there's one expansion that comes with it on the Kickstarter. That is the 3rd game. And then they have yet another expansion that is available to add on. I think I said that right. If I didn't, you can find out when you look at the Kickstarter. But there are already designers that have designed and play tested and done games to add on to this foundation deck, and they will be releasing a new expansion to play with the foundation deck, a new game essentially, every month after the Kickstarter fulfills for 10 months. So yeah, they've got some stuff going on. And if you are at all interested in micro games, you should take a look at it and see what you think. No paid promos on this channel. I just tell you what I like. And hopefully some of this pile of stuff is something that you will like too. Drop comments. Tell me what you think about these games. Tell me what you've been playing. I always like hearing what people are playing. That's really interesting, and it's a good way of learning about new games and finding out what people think about them. Although, yeah, I'm hanging out on YouTube watching game videos. See game videos in the description for some of these games. But yeah, been having a lot of fun with games, and I hope you have too. I will see y'all next time. Round the table. Bye.